OK, now the Bob Brown interview, and it just struck me when he was talking about the prospects for the next election that it was almost a we, you know, we meaning the Greens and Labor. We've got Tony Abbott covered and we'll beat him.
I thought that was an astonishing interview, Barry, and I think I've thought for a long while, many months, that Julia Gillard is finished, that she just cannot survive as Prime Minister, that she can't win the next election whenever it is. And that interview, to me, just confirms why that's the case. Bob Brown is effectively her coalition partner, and here she has Bob Brown from the Greens making her economic arguments on matters like taxation and public spending. This is the party that backs death duties, for instance. So she's taken the party into the hold of that sort of loopy left of Australian politics, and it's very bad news for her.
Except it wasn't a loopy left argument that he was putting. He was basically supporting...
Well, he wants to close down the coal industry. That's a fairly hard-line position.
But she's not going to do that. I mean, in the talks they're having at the moment, obviously that's a sticking point is coal, but the government, they want to give coal what they gave coal last time. The trouble is for the Greens in this is there's a threat they'll walk away with something less than they knocked back last time.
Yeah.
So, so especially on coal, for example.
I think he's almost resigned to that on coal.
So they've got to give him something else, but they've got to give him something else, like a massive renewable energy fund or something. But
this is Julia Gillard's partner.
No, I agree, but if
he wants to shut down the coal industry, shut down the dirty...
But that's words. If she does do it, then your point becomes more valid, I think. But if she doesn't do it, if she stares him down and gets a deal, then I think that point doesn't resonate as much. But it's you've got a minority government. Them's the breaks.
It is interesting that he's talking consensus now much more than they were last time around. I think they are chastened about what ended up. I mean, they benefited in the end because this whole debacle on climate change has led to the Greens being in much greater numbers in the Senate, but they didn't get what they ultimately wanted. And you're right, they might get a little bit less this time. So he is talking compromise and consensus.
Yeah, but I do take your point about the sense of a formal coalition. That's a very different feel for the electorate, I think, and a very different thing for them to embrace. But what he was saying is that there's going to be a whole new ballgame once the details of this are out there and they're known. And so whatever you might think now about the prospects of the next election, that could all change.
Yeah, I think he's dreaming, and I think it's very, very ambitious. And I think the point here is that, the Labor Party traditionally was the great party of Australian workers, and it was modernised in the Hawke-Keating years, and became the party of sort of aspirational Australians, and a mainstream party. And that interview showed how Bob Brown and the Greens are really pulling Julia Gillard away from the mainstream, and they're going to have an enormous amount of difficulty.
Or, put it another way, they're actually joining mainstream.
Well, there's an interesting tension, obviously, in the Greens now with Lee Rhiannon joining, and they're taking that head on. I thought his responses to that were quite interesting. And she's been on the front foot this week. She's been in Canberra. She's been around introducing herself to those of us in the press gallery and saying, I'm a team player. We're all together. Yes, we'll have varying views, but that's a strong position, not a weak position. So they are anticipating the sort of attention they will get about.
Is she going to be the Shadow Minister for Tibet or East Timor or Burma? I mean, is this
for some forests,
is this serious?